young boy's heartfelt quest to buy a meaningful birthday gift for his hard-working mom takes an incredible twist when none other than Elon Musk unexpectedly walks into the scene, setting off a chain of events that will leave you amazed and inspired. In the small town of Greenville, Missouri, 15-year-old Elliot had spent weeks tirelessly saving money. Every lawn he mowed, every errand he ran, and every after-school snack he skipped brought him closer to one goal: buying a meaningful birthday gift for his mom, Laura. Laura wasn't just a mother to Elliot. She was his rock, his greatest supporter, and his quiet hero. She worked long shifts at the local diner, often putting her own needs aside to make sure Elliot had everything he needed. This gift wasn't about the price. It was about showing her how much he noticed, how much he loved her. On the crisp morning of her birthday, Elliot stood outside a small jewelry store tucked between a bakery and a thrift shop. With his savings jingling in his pocket, he pushed open the door, the soft chime of the bell announcing his arrival. Inside, the cozy shop smelled faintly of wood polish, and the older shopkeeper greeted him with a kind smile. Elliot's heart raced as he stepped inside, taking in the sparkling displays. To him, this wasn't just a store. It was the place where all his hard work and love would come together in a single moment. But as fate would have it, this would be no ordinary morning. Unknown to Elliot, the simple decision to walk through that door would lead to a life-changing encounter he could never have imagined. Elliot's eyes swept over the sparkling displays, each piece catching the light like tiny stars. He wasn't looking for something flashy. His mom wasn't like that. Then he saw it. A delicate silver bracelet with a single star-shaped charm. Simple, beautiful, perfect. Picking it up, he imagined her wearing it, a quiet smile on her face after a long day. But when he turned it over and saw the price tag, his heart sank. It was just out of reach. For a moment, doubt crept in, but then he tightened his grip on the bracelet. She deserved this. Something special, something that showed her how much she meant to him. No matter what, he was going to make it hers. Elliot stood at the counter, his fingers trembling slightly as he counted the crumpled bills and loose coins he had worked so hard to save. The shopkeeper watched him patiently, offering an occasional reassuring smile. Elliot's heart pounded, not just from excitement, but from a quiet fear that he might still fall short. Then the bell above the door jingled, cutting through the quiet air. The soft hum of the store seemed to pause. Elliot glanced over his shoulder and froze. His head back. A tall man had stepped inside, his casual hoodie and jeans giving little indication of who he was, until Elliot looked closer. It took a second, maybe two, for recognition to hit him like a bolt of lightning. His jaw slackened. Elon Musk, the man he'd only seen in headlines and YouTube videos, now stood just a few feet away, scanning the room with an air of quiet ease. His presence was magnetic, commanding attention without a single word. Even the shopkeeper, who had likely seen it all, seemed momentarily stunned before offering Musk a polite nod of acknowledgement. Elliot, clutching the silver bracelet in his hand like it was a treasure, felt his heart race faster. What was Elon Musk, one of the most famous innovators in the world, doing here, in this little jewelry shop in Greenville, Missouri? As Musk strolled further into the store, the room seemed to shrink. Elliot tried to focus back on his counting, but his hands betrayed him, shaking slightly as he laid out his savings. The shopkeeper's gaze flickered between Elliot and Musk, the air now charged with a tension that felt almost electric. Elliot's mind raced with questions, but none of them came out. Instead, he stood there, silently willing himself to stay calm. It was just a man, he told himself. A man who happened to be one of the most famous people on the planet, and who had just walked into his life without warning. Elliot tried to steady his hands as he laid out his bills and coins on the counter, but he couldn't stop glancing over his shoulder. Musk was now only a few feet away, casually inspecting the displays as if he were any other customer. Then Musk's voice broke the silence. It was calm, approachable, yet carried a weight that demanded attention. "Nice bracelet," he said, his eyes settling on the small silver piece in Elliot's hand. Elliot's heart nearly stopped. For a moment, he couldn't even find his voice. The world-famous billionaire was talking to him. Thanks," Elliot stammered, his voice barely above a whisper. He felt his cheeks flush as Musk stepped closer, curiosity flickering in his eyes. "Who's it for?" Musk asked, his tone genuine and warm, not at all what Elliot expected from someone so renowned. Elliot hesitated, gripping the bracelet tightly as if it might disappear. He glanced at the shopkeeper, who gave him an encouraging nod. Taking a deep breath, Elliot finally answered, "It's for my mom. Her birthday is today." Musk's expression softened. "That's thoughtful of you," he said, folding his arms. "What made you pick this one?" Elliot looked down at the bracelet, his fingers tracing the small star-shaped charm. "It's simple, but it's beautiful," he said quietly. "She doesn't wear much jewelry, but I think she'll like it. She works so hard, every day, and I just wanted to give her something special, something to show her how much I appreciate her." As the words tumbled out, Elliot felt a lump rising in his throat. He hadn't planned to say so much, but now that he had, he realized how deeply he meant it. For a moment, Musk didn't respond. He simply studied Elliot with a look that was both curious and contemplative, as though he were piecing together the story behind the boy's words. "That's a good reason," Musk finally said, a small smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. His voice was quiet, but there was something in it, something that told Elliot this was no ordinary conversation. And just like that, the bracelet wasn't the only thing shining in the room. Musk leaned casually against the counter, his gaze flickering back to the delicate bracelet in Elliot's hands. There was a glimmer of admiration in his eyes, the kind that only comes from seeing something rare, genuine love and determination shining through a young boy's actions. "That's a great gift," Musk said, his voice steady yet kind. "And a thoughtful one at that." Elliot smiled shyly, unsure of what to say. He had already started counting out his savings again, carefully lining up the worn bills and coins on the counter, determined to pay every last cent. But then Musk spoke again. "You know what?" he said, standing up straighter. "Let me take care of this for you." Elliot froze, his hands hovering over the small pile of money. "What?" he asked, his voice cracking in disbelief. You don't have to do that." Musk smiled, a warm and almost playful expression crossing his face. "I know I don't have to," he said, reaching into his pocket and pulling out a sleek wallet. "But I want to. Call it a birthday gift. From both of us." The shopkeeper's eyebrows lifted slightly in surprise as Musk placed a crisp $100 bill on the counter. "Keep the change," he said with a slight nod, as though this act of generosity were the most natural thing in the world. Elliot stared at the bill, then at Musk, then back at the bracelet, still clutched in his hand. His mind raced, trying to find the right words. I don't know what to say," he stammered, his voice trembling. "You don't have to say anything," Musk replied, crouching slightly so he could meet Elliot's wide-eyed gaze. "Just make sure your mom has the best birthday ever, okay?" Elliot nodded slowly, his grip tightening on the bracelet as if it had suddenly become the most precious thing in the world. For the first time, he let himself smile, a real, bright smile that carried more gratitude than words ever could. In that small jewelry store in Greenville, amidst the quiet hum of life's ordinary moments, something extraordinary had just happened. It wasn't just about the money or the bracelet. It was about a kindness so unexpected, so overwhelming, that it left the young boy speechless and filled with hope. The sun was setting over Greenville as Elliot returned home, the silver bracelet carefully tucked away in a small gift box. His heart raced, not from nerves this time, but from anticipation. He had imagined this moment for weeks, the look on his mom's face, the joy it would bring her. That evening, as the soft glow of their modest kitchen light filled the room, Elliot approached his mom with the little box cradled in his hands. Laura was at the table, sipping tea after a long shift at the diner. She looked up, surprised to see him standing there, his cheeks flushed and his eyes bright with excitement. "Happy birthday, Mom," Elliot said, his voice quiet but full of emotion. He extended the gift toward her, his hands trembling slightly. Laura blinked, taken aback. "Elliot, what is this?" she asked, her voice soft and filled with wonder. "Just open it," he urged, a shy smile spreading across his face. With gentle hands, Laura untied the ribbon and lifted the lid. Her breath caught as she saw the delicate silver bracelet nestled inside. The single star-shaped charm glimmered under the light, simple yet stunning, just like Elliot had imagined. Tears welled up in Laura's eyes. "Elliot, this is beautiful," she whispered, her voice breaking. She looked at her son, her expression a mix of astonishment and deep gratitude. "You didn't have to do this." "I wanted to," Elliot replied, his voice steady despite the lump in his throat. "You do so much for me, and I wanted to give you something special for once." Laura reached for him, pulling him into a tight embrace. "Thank you," she whispered into his hair, her tears spilling over. "You have no idea how much this means to me." For a moment, time seemed to stand still. The tiny kitchen, the well-worn table, and the laughter they shared, all of it felt perfect. The bracelet wasn't just a gift. It was a symbol of their bond, a testament to the love that held them together through every challenge. Elliot smiled as he watched his mom slip the bracelet onto her wrist, the star charm catching the light as if it had always belonged there. He couldn't have asked for a better moment, a better birthday for the person he loved most in the world. Later that evening, as the glow of Elliot's heartfelt gift still warmed the air, the quiet yammer of their small kitchen was interrupted by the sudden ring of Laura's phone. She glanced at the unfamiliar number on the screen, hesitating for a moment. Who could be calling her at this hour? "Hello?" she answered, her voice cautious but polite. "Hi, is this Laura?" A confident yet kind voice replied on the other end. "Yes, this is she. May I ask who's calling?" "This is Elon Musk," the voice said simply. Laura froze, her hand tightening around the phone. Surely she had misheard. "I'm sorry. Who?" "Elon Musk," the voice repeated with a warm chuckle. "I know this might seem unexpected, but I met your son earlier today at the jewelry store. I just wanted to tell you, you've raised an incredible young man." The world seemed to tilt for a moment as Laura tried to process the words. "Elon Musk?" She glanced at Elliot, who was sitting at the table, his head snapping up in curiosity when he heard the name. "Thank you," Laura managed, her voice shaking slightly. "That's very kind of you to say." "Well, it's true," Musk continued. He spoke so passionately about how much he admires you and everything you've done for him. It was inspiring, to say the least. But what really caught my attention was his dream, his idea about building homes that families like yours could actually afford. That's a pretty big vision for a 15-year-old. Laura felt a lump rise in her throat as tears filled her eyes. "He's always been a thoughtful kid," she said softly. "But I never imagined—" "He's not just thoughtful," Musk interrupted gently. "He's remarkable, and I want to help him. I've decided to cover your rent for the next year so you can have a little breathing room, and starting next week, Elliot will have a mentor, someone who can guide him as he explores his interests in design and engineering." Laura's hand flew to her chest, the magnitude of his words sinking in. "I don't know what to say," she whispered, overwhelmed by a flood of emotions. "This is unbelievable." "Just keep doing what you're doing," Musk said, his voice steady and reassuring. "You've already done the hardest part, raising a son with a good heart and big dreams. Now it's time for the rest of us to help him make those dreams a reality." By this point, Elliot had risen from his seat, his eyes wide with disbelief. "Mom," he whispered, his voice trembling, "is it really him?" Laura handed him the phone, unable to speak through her tears. Elliot clutched it tightly, his voice barely audible. "Mr. Musk?" "Elon," Musk corrected with a chuckle. "And yes, it's me. You've got some big ideas, Elliot, and I want to help you bring them to life. But for now, just focus on giving your mom the best birthday ever. She deserves it." The call ended soon after, but the impact of Musk's words lingered in the room, filling it with a sense of hope and possibility. Laura pulled Elliot into another hug, her tears falling freely now, not from sadness, but from sheer gratitude. For Elliot and his mom, it felt like the beginning of something extraordinary, a spark that had the power to change not just their lives, but perhaps even the world. The days that followed Musk's life-changing phone call felt like a whirlwind for Elliot and Laura. True to his word, Musk's team reached out, connecting Elliot with a mentor named David Sabat, a seasoned architect and engineer with a passion for innovation. From their very first meeting, David treated Elliot not as just a curious teenager, but as someone with the potential to bring real change to the world. David's mentorship was a gateway to a new world. He introduced Elliot to design software, explained the basics of sustainable materials, and shared stories of projects that blended creativity with purpose. Every session ignited a fire in Elliot, and for the first time he felt like his dream of building homes wasn't just a far-off idea. It was something he could actually achieve. Meanwhile, life at home began to shift. With their rent now covered, Laura no longer needed to juggle multiple shifts at the diner just to make ends meet. The weight that had pressed on her shoulders for years seemed to lift. Instead of rushing to her next job, she found herself sitting at the kitchen table with Elliot, listening to him excitedly talk about blueprints, materials, and the houses he envisioned creating. "You really think I can do this, Mom?" Elliot asked one evening, his sketchbook spread out in front of them. Laura placed her hand gently on his. "I don't just think you can, Elliot. I know you can," she said, her voice steady with pride. "And now you have the right people to help you get there." As their lives transformed, so did their story. Word of Musk's act of generosity began to spread, first through local news and then to national media. Reporters were drawn to the tale of a young boy whose heartfelt gesture for his mom had caught the attention of one of the most influential men in the world. Laura and Elliot welcomed the attention, not for the spotlight but for the chance to share their gratitude and inspire others. "It's not just about what we were given," Laura told a reporter one afternoon. "It's about how one small act of kindness can remind you to believe in yourself and the goodness of people around you." Elliot, now more confident than ever, shared his sketches with anyone who would listen. His enthusiasm was contagious, and soon people from the community began reaching out to offer support. Some donated materials, others provided advice, and a few even volunteered their time to help bring his ideas to life. The once quiet boy from Greenville had become a symbol of hope, a reminder that even the smallest dreams, when nurtured, could grow into something extraordinary. Elliot's once private dream was now a mission fueled by passion, guidance, and an outpouring of community support. With his mentor David by his side, he transformed his sketches into detailed designs for affordable, sustainable homes. David pushed him to dig deeper, telling him, "Your story is what makes these homes meaningful." Elliot's vision was simple yet powerful. Homes that didn't just provide shelter, but gave families a place to grow, dream, and feel secure. "These aren't just buildings," he explained to anyone who would listen. "They're a chance for families like mine to have something better." The turning point came when Elliot was invited to present his designs at a local community event. Standing in front of a crowd, his nerves almost got the best of him, but as he spoke, his passion silenced the doubt. His words resonated deeply with the audience, and when the applause came, it was overwhelming. People approached him with offers of help, builders, architects, and even local leaders wanting to support his mission. "Count me in," one contractor said. "What you're doing is something this town needs." For the first time, Elliot saw his dream become a shared vision. The boy who once doubted himself was now the face of a movement, inspiring others with his determination and heart. At home, his mom watched in awe, her pride in Elliot shining brighter than ever. "You're creating something bigger than I ever imagined," she said, her voice filled with emotion. Elliot smiled back. "It's for us, Mom," he said softly, "and for everyone who needs a place to feel safe." Elliot's story is a beautiful reminder of how one act of kindness can ripple through lives, creating extraordinary transformations. It teaches us that no matter how small our actions may seem, they can inspire hope and open doors to a brighter future. This journey also shows the power of belief, both in others and in ourselves. With compassion, support, and determination, even the simplest dream can become something extraordinary. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who could use a little inspiration today. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this, tales that remind us of the kindness in the world and the potential we all hold to make a difference. What do you think about Elliot's incredible journey? Let us know in the comments below.